My name is Sheridan Aguirre, and I'm undocumented and a DACA recipient.
My name is Yate Kiozolu, and I'm a beneficiary of Deferred Enforced Departure, also known as DED.
Mi nombre es Ángela Pereira. En este momento estoy buscando asilo político aquí en Estados Unidos.
제 이름은 박그림이고 저는 서류 미비자입니다.
Mi nombre es Victoria Francisco y soy indocumentada. Tengo viviendo en Estados Unidos 23 años.
For 24 years.
For 18 years.
Por 6 años.
For 25 years, when I immigrated here at 1 year old. When I was a kid, my mom told me that I was undocumented. She basically put it this way. She said that I was born in Mexico and that I couldn't tell anyone because we might get in trouble. You know, when people would ask like, oh, talk to us about your family, I would never talk about my heritage, my nationality, nothing. Growing up, I really would tell people that I was from Fort Worth, and I almost started to believe it myself.
La razón por la que me vine, pues, fue por la transfobia, la homofobia. Aparte también he visto a compañeras mías que las matan, les disparan a la par mía y yo creo que eso es la violencia y la discriminación y el estigma que nos pone cada lugar. Por eso estoy aquí, por eso tuve que salir huyendo de mi país, porque mi vida corre peligro.
So when I came to the United States at 6 years old, the plan was that it would be temporary. My parents were relocating back to Liberia, but because of the war, it made it impossible for us to return, and we eventually became stuck. Having family here in the United States was really a blessing at that time. And I loved coming to the States because I was the only child, and I had cousins here who were my age. I'm pretty sure I was very excited to stay.
La razón que decidí venir a este país fue más que nada porque pues me robaron a mi hija. Entonces por eso fue que vine a este país, a escaparme. Fue muy duro para mí y con mi hija porque estaba embarazada y no podía encontrar trabajo, el idioma, y poco a poco fui saliendo adelante, pero era muy duro.
My parents wanted the best for me and my brother, so we decided to come to the United States for the American dream. My father had to leave everything, and he would talk about how much he misses Korea from time to time, but he knows he can't ask for that life again for the sake of me and my brother. And sometimes I feel guilty thinking about that. And sometimes I feel like maybe was it better if I didn't exist? For that, it's difficult.
Pues el mayor sacrificio fue dejar a mi familia. Y entonces estar en un país sola, sin que no esté ninguna de tu familia, pues no es fácil. Es triste. Si yo quiero estar, yo quiero el amor de mis papás, de mi familia en general, y no los tengo.
Tiene tantos años que yo no voy a mi país y me siento como atrapada. Y a veces me pongo a pensar tan cerca es que está ir a mi país y no puedo.
When I was a teenager, some of the biggest things that I had to face was hiding who I was from my peers. When I was 16, people would ask me, oh, why aren't you applying for this? Why aren't you driving? I would freeze up and I'd say, my mom's actually, she doesn't let me drive. She doesn't want me to work. She wants me to stay in school. She doesn't want me to do any of that.
I remember telling my mom that I was a permanent resident, and she was like, no, you're not. And I remember telling her, yeah, I live here permanently. And she's explaining to me that's not what that means.
My parents did not tell me until I was a senior in high school when I was trying to apply for colleges. And when they finally told me the truth, you're undocumented, so you cannot do anything. It was very disheartening.
I didn't have pride in myself, whether as a Latino or as an immigrant. I really wanted to fit in. And so it took a really long time for me to reclaim who I am. And a lot of that happened after the announcement of DACA, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, in 2012.
I graduated high school in 2011, and by then DACA did not exist. And it was very difficult to find a place that would accept undocumented students. There wasn't much financial aid support, and I felt like I did not deserve the support. I struggled as a student because I felt like even if I get a degree, will it matter at the end?
When I was graduating from high school, there wasn't a lot of awareness around what it means to be undocumented and what that means in order to access higher education. I found out that I couldn't apply for federal financial aid, or I wouldn't be eligible for in-state tuition. Eventually, I was able to pursue a graduate degree, but it took people fighting for me. It took institutions making resources available that made that a possibility for me.
With DACA, I could now work, I could get a driver's license, I could travel across this country safely. But at the same time, it made me feel really guilty because my mom was left out. So my mom had to work under the table, and with that came a lot of workplace abuses. Sometimes that meant being withheld pay, sometimes that meant mistreatment. She had to sacrifice all of that, sometimes her own dignity, to be able to protect us.
Ya, digo yo, he trabajado demasiado. Me he llevado a mis hijas limpiando de noche oficinas. Hasta me he quedado a dormir en las oficinas con mis dos hijas, porque ¿con quién las dejo? Y me salía más caro darlas a cuidar que llevármelas.
I lived in a household with working class African women who worked jobs that they otherwise probably wouldn't want to do. But they did that for us to give us a future, to give us the options that we deserved.
My mom is the person who is the main breadwinner of our family. She's the one who is taking care of us. And so it really hurt me to see that she had no access to these things, that she couldn't live a regular life. And it was because of that gap in equality and equity and justice that I felt the need to be able to speak up, to organize, so that I could win policies that would protect people like my mom and the 11 million other undocumented people across the country.
When Trump became the president, I was terrified because I felt like all the protections I've been receiving through DACA are gonna disappear. The people on the border are getting separated, their families getting separated, their children are being encaged, TPS and asylum seekers are being under attack, and lastly, a lot of South Asian people are getting deported under the public eye. So you can say it got a lot worse since Trump became the president.
I've definitely had a sense of isolation, especially over the last couple of years. My identity as an immigrant has become probably the most salient that it's ever been. And while the concerns definitely existed before the 2016 election, I feel a lot more targeted in a way that I didn't feel before.
Fui detenida al entrar aquí a Estados Unidos. Me detuvo migración, estuve encerrada por cierto tiempo. Estoy sola, yo me vuelvo más vulnerable ante cualquier tipo de violencia, cualquier acoso o cualquier otras situaciones, ¿no? Por mi identidad.
Even though we chant undocumented, unafraid, but there is always gonna be a little bit of anxiety behind those chants. I would say Asian American immigrant community, sometimes we kind of go under the radar because of how the media have portrayed us. And I want to be clear that we're here to stay and we're here to defend DACA, and we want to be loud for citizenship for all.
In every designation period, we don't know whether it'll be extended or not. Typically, we don't find out until a month or even several days before the program ends whether we will be allowed to continue to stay in the country. And so we sort of go through the same sort of uncertainty yearly. The U.S. absolutely feels like home for me. It's where I've grown up. I've had a particular experience here, and so it's hard for me to feel like there's any other place where I belong.
Home for me is here. Home for me is where my parents are. Home for me is where my communities are, which is here.
I know this is my home, and I'm working towards a home that is really going to respect me and respect other people of color and immigrants.
I have not been to South Korea since I was 10. So returning to Korea means I would have to start all over, and I honestly don't know where I would start. I don't know anybody.
No matter what happens in our government, this is my home, and I have just as much right as anyone else to be able to advocate for my right to stay here and my right to thrive.
I do think that there should be pathways for all. My idea about immigration is that this is an issue of human rights, and immigration is also, it's about justice.
Yo creo que sí debería de haber un santuario para las personas que pues están, ¿verdad?, en riesgo por protección.
Every single deportation is cruel. Every single one. We deserve an immigration system that is not intentionally designed to harm us, but instead is intentionally designed to welcome us, to make us feel like we belong, and help us be our best selves, to help grow this country and grow each other.
I think my big hope is that we can live in a world without borders.
Pues mis esperanzas que nos den, ¿verdad?, los documentos. Estoy yendo a la escuela, estoy agarrando matemáticas. Me gustan mucho las matemáticas. Ya estoy a un nivel donde puedo entrar a hacer una carrera, me dijo la maestra.
Es ser abogada. Ser abogada en un futuro para poder yo ayudar a mi comunidad con todo en lo que yo pueda.
My validation as human being, I just want that. And without feeling like I need to prove anybody that I deserve to exist.
Y pues por todo lo que he pasado, pues doy gracias y aquí estoy, sigo viva. A pesar de que no puedo regresar a mi país. Volver a estar juntos.
Estoy aquí y estoy con lo que más quiero, mis hijas. Estoy muy contenta.
We're humans, right? We deserve the pursuit of joy, the pursuit of happiness. We're a part of the fabric of this country. Every single person, regardless if they're undocumented, if they were born here, deserves to be able to live with dignity.